Welcome to Let's Talk About It Tuesday.
Oh, it did start?
I'm
You said it
Georgette.
what?
I'm the mom.
And I'm DJ, I'm the son.
And we both work and study in the field of psychology, and we are passionate about sharing what we know with you so that you can live your best life. So today we're going to talk about responsibility. And when you think about responsibility, maybe you could think about it as two words, response and ability.
Which is still blowing my mind. We talked about this earlier. It's still cool. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. It's the ability to choose how we respond to every aspect of our life, basically claiming ownership of circumstances so we can be active in solutions, right?
That we can be active in solutions. We're going to keep that in mind.
Yeah, I think that's an important part of it. Oftentimes we associate responsibility with blame, right?
Yeah, and we kind of mentioned, the cat's messing things up out here. We kind of mentioned that is the first way that people kind of think about, think about responsibility in terms of it negatively. Like, whose responsibility is it? Who was responsible for this? Who's responsible for this? And not necessarily in a positive frame of mind.
So blame, though, rarely falls on one person, right? I mean, usually there's degrees of blame in any situation, even like when you think about accidents and who's at fault, when they determine who's at fault, usually there's that gets kind of convoluted.
Of course. Well, because, like you said, there's always, there's just so many things that played a role in it, right? Like you said, like who really is at fault. I would say there's always, there's almost always a little bit of, both in most scenarios.
Right. When we blame others, though, the problem with that is that we're basically excluding ourselves from our role in the solution, right?
Yeah, immediately actually closing that off and making it more so on them, almost tricking our minds into subconsciously thinking that they're the only ones that can, work on it, and takes away from what we can do. So it's something that you can identify and it's something that's needed in basic human necessity, but it's not something to ruminate on, right?
Right. And when you stop and realize your role in solutions, it can actually be empowering.
Yeah. Taking the power back from what you were not feeling powerful in, which is somebody else feeling like they have all the responsibility, all the power.
Right. And so the suggestion maybe is to, instead of associating responsibility with blame, associating with freedom, right? It can be an opportunity, not necessarily a chore.
Yeah, responsibility is a good thing, right? Kind of all the responsibilities that could be a little more challenging to do because we would be bored. We'd be bored if we didn't have these types of things. Responsibility is needed because responsibility has a lot of purpose and reason in it. And when we don't have purpose and reason, then there's a lot less for us to not only consciously, but also subconsciously kind of live for. So try to go out and find responsibilities. And actually, if you go out and try to find them, it's going to be easier than the ones that people are trying to automatically put on you or the ones that you're trying to induce on yourself. Because we tend to take a lot of things personally or that it's our responsibility and it's just not fair to us.
Right.
Ooh, and it got really dark.
It did. The clouds went away. Oftentimes the problem is we have people who apologize for everything or people who apologize for nothing. Right.
Yeah. Normally not too much of a middle ground. Absolutely. I'm going to open the gate.
Okay. The other day I shared on social media something that basically was intended to let people know that I'm human. I make mistakes. I really don't mean any harm. Yeah, that's better. And if I harm someone, I apologize, right? And what happened was a family member called me out on it. He was clearly frustrated with the fact that from his perception, too many people are apologizing for too many things they didn't actually do. And here I am apologizing for something I've potentially done, like just only potentially done. And when you stop and think about it, anybody who knows me, I shouldn't even need to do that because they know I don't mean any harm. So I'm clearly on that side of the spectrum where I probably apologize too much for things I don't necessarily should take responsibility.
Yeah, and we kind of talked about it earlier. And what that is basically you doing is you turning into trying to make you responsible for something that is impossible, which was basically his response. You're trying to create some way to make it make sense to you. And that's just not necessarily something that you can do. So you take on, oh man, this person's responding in a negative way, but it's their responsibility too, in a sense, right? Like you said, there is normally a lot of different factors at play that don't necessarily get looked at in the moment. So consciously identifying them so that you can identify what is within your realm, what is technically within your realm of responsibility, because some of those things are going to be just very, very challenging. It's going to help you kind of reframe them and find something else to look forward to.
So then on the other side of the spectrum, you have those people who don't take any responsibility. And there's some theories about why people don't take responsibility. The first theory is as children, may have been routinely and severely wrongly punished.
So it's a subconscious automatically, oh, I'm at fault, I'm responsible,
Mm-hmm.
I'm responsible. It is a defense mechanism that their little cells started to make because they just assumed we got to be prepared for this because this is normally what we see. So you are at fault. Take everything personally. Come on.
Right. This could result in chronic shame, guilt, or a lack of empathy. You know, if you can totally understand why that would happen. You know, I give up. I'm always wrong. So why not? Like, I don't care.
Dissociate.
Right.
Whatever.
Sometimes people don't apologize because they feel like they might make it worse, right?
Mm-hmm.
They might think that, well, this person's already moved on. If I dredge it up again, it's just, you know, it's really going to do more harm than good.
Yeah, or what they feel like they're going to make it worse. So what are they doing? They're putting the stock in the other person's reaction, and that is not the way to live because they feel like they make it worse. Do you or do you not want to apologize? Yes, I need to get this off my chest. So if you bring it up, even if they run rampant or take it very, very well, that is not up to you. You have to be genuinely authentic, surrender the outcome, and do the hard work. Those are your 3 responsibilities for yourself that override a lot of these fake responsibilities that you created towards other people in your life.
Right.
Boom.
Some people intentionally carry that burden because they make it their a chronic form of punishment. It's like their cross to carry.
Yeah, we see this. People like, oh, but my suffering is bigger than your suffering. But you're this. Like, it's almost like that one-upping, so to speak. Like, and you get comfortable. I think we talked about that in prior podcast, but get comfortable with being uncomfortable, but not like in the motivating way, but like the I'm unhappy, but whatever, I'm stuck. Whatever. Right.
A recent study linked our beliefs to change with our willingness to take responsibilities. So oftentimes if we feel like we can't change, we don't take responsibility for it.
Because why take responsibility? Why judge it up if we do not have the confidence within ourselves to actually go out and make it a little bit better? So, and then people just go through that cycle of almost just being blinders to it. And, you know, it's just not necessarily something that is going to be beneficial in the long run, even though you may feel like, oh, this is helpful for me right now, but you're just pushing off what we are responsible. And here's the thing, we all have these intrinsic responsibilities and a lot of us are not getting the bulk of them.
So a lot of times when you take responsibility, it requires you to apologize to somebody, right? And there's ways to apologize incorrectly and correctly. We're going to talk about a few strategies for apologizing correctly. So first, accept responsibility for what you are actually responsible for.
Yeah, don't generalize, just say the few things. Find a good way to say them so they don't sound too threatening on either end for you and for that individual. Yeah, that's all I got.
And also use I when making the statement. Say, I'm sorry.
I feel like this when you do this. I feel like this when you do this. Not your walls, defenses. You are most likely not going to get past any words past that. So yes, making it weirdly about you, and that's actually better, but making it you in terms like kind of from their perspective as well,
and in a healthy way. Mean it and do whatever you can to not repeat it. So if you apologize for something, you know, make every attempt to not make that same mistake. Right.
Yeah. And here's the thing, mean it and do whatever you can to not do it again. A lot of what we're talking about here are those automatic tendencies that we're just like, oh, that's just who I am. They're automatic. Do whatever you can to not do it again. For these are the people who are not doing some of the things necessary to change for the people in their life. Whatever you can do to not do it again, there are a lot of things that you can do to ensure that that becomes a natural thought and a natural behavior for you in the future. You have to practice it consciously so that you may subconsciously have that possibility for you lined up in the future. You have to psychologically allow it to be there so that your nervous system can make some type of association towards it, right? So mean it and do whatever you can to not do it again. Most of us are not doing nearly enough.
Offer to make as fair a restitution as possible, right?
Compromise. Oh, you do this. Go in with ideas. Most people don't even go in with possibilities. It floors me. People don't even have this box checked. We're just trying to check off all these boxes so that your brain doesn't have to automatically check these boxes off in the moment where you're most likely be not the best version of yourself.
Right. And don't make it about yourself to the extent that it's unhealthy. You don't want to pressure the other person to forgive you. They are not required to forgive you.
Yeah. What do you want them to feel forgiveness, or do you want to feel forgiven? Big difference.
Ooh.
I want to feel forgiven. I want to feel forgiven. I want them to feel forgiveness within their heart. There's a big difference that we are going to have a little bit of both within us. And you have to consciously focus in on this other one. Once again, allowing it to become a more of a subconscious thought process in the future.
Right. So steps for taking responsibility: first, stop blaming others.
And here's the thing. What do we mean by that? Stop blaming others. Stop blaming. Start questioning why, but trying to remove the emotion. How do we do that? We've talked about the other groups, introducing the diaphragmatic breathing so your body is calm when you're introducing these other thoughts, because your brain is going to want to continue to blame, and you have to ask why. What is the intention here? Instead of focusing on the stimuli, focus on the intention. If you focus on the intention, most likely you are going to be able to consciously find more ways to deal with it better. You're going to think about more behaviors to do, because blaming is something that is taking away action from you, even if it's in a healthy fashion. So once again, stop blaming. Just why? Whether their intention is good or bad, it's still going to be better than just blaming, just fighting or freezing, just reacting in that direction.
Yeah, think about trends and commonalities. If the situation is consistent but the players are different, maybe it's you. Think about that.
We talked about that, right? Like, what are the chances, like, if you go to a different friend group, different people, different levels of people in your life, and they say something similar, what are the chances that everybody in the world is crazy? Right? What are the chances that all of those people that you have seen that have told you that are crazy, these groups of people? Most likely not.
Right.
Most likely not. If you are seeing a common trend, responsibility, we tend to subconsciously put responsibility onto others, but it always ties back to ourselves. Always ties back to ourselves in some way or another.
Stop making excuses. Be mindful of the situation, identify triggers.
There we go. Stop making excuses. Oh, it's this because of this, because of this. Be mindful of the situation, identify the triggers. What thoughts got you there? Don't make an excuse for those unhealthy thoughts. What got you there? What actually did? Don't make excuses for why you felt the emotion. What emotions were felt? High neurological energy, low neurological energy, anxiety, depression. What was felt? Where did you feel within your body? What did you feel impulsed to do from a behavioral standpoint? There's a difference between questioning it and, once again, making excuses. If I'm pushing it off, I'm making excuses. I'm not questioning the legitimacy of why it is here.
Right. Stop bemoaning your situation. Take an active role in your life.
What the hell is bemoaning?
What
the hell is bemoaning? That's the most disgusting word. Bemoaning? That is a horrendous word, and that's a great word, horrendous.
Well, bemoaning, like complaining about your situation. You don't like whining about it. Like, take an active role in their life. You have choices. Be intentional.
That's a great word for that, because that's a disgusting act.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Follow through.
Bemoaning? I'm going to use that.
Yes, you should. Words to increase your word power, something like that. Okay. Follow through on promises and commitments. This cat is something else.
Oh, wait. So let's go back to 3 for a second. I got stuck with the bemoaning. Stop bemoaning your situation. Take an active role in your life. You have choices. Be intentional. You have choices. If you can't get what you want, you got to get what you can. That's bemoaning the situation. You're waiting for it to be perfect, You're going to have to make choices now. Follow through on promises and commitments. Well, no, don't promise. Well, first, I don't promise. I mean, that's the tale as old as time, right?
Realize what you want in life. Like, put it on paper. Make a contract with yourself.
What is your responsibilities every single day? Contractual? Is that contractually? Is that what you say? What is within your responsibility, right? And here's the thing. There's so many. This is like where you can, like, people are like, man, what do I really have going for me? Well, think about, like, just the people in your life, right? Like, if your friend is super negative, then, man, a big part of your responsibility, your purpose could be to try to liven that person up, send them good messages, this and that. If your goal is to just be around your friend who's getting sick or feeling lonely, then what can I do to be around them? So we make these responsibilities so much more challenging, but this is responsibilities in terms of the people in my life, acts of kindness, social connectedness, reading, learning, some of those other things that we have spent way too much time talking about. I'm not going to list them repeatedly over and over again, but we know, actually, no, here's the thing. You don't necessarily know what your purpose, what your goals, and what your responsibilities are. And your brain isn't automatically saying, this is what you're responsible for. It is doing so, and it's most likely latching to unhelpful things and unrealistic expectations. So make it your realistic expectation by actually making it conscious. You turd.
Forgive yourself. Look for the good in you and in others.
Boom. Yeah. Consciously trying to pull yourself out of it's going to be easier for you to keep on giving into the negative emotions, but look for the gratitude where it's not there so they can be settled in as well as possible, because there's grateful as you can be. It's going to be easier for you to work through those emotions and work through those later on. So trying to, trying to think happy thoughts. Right. Wow. I wish I would have learned that before from a Disney movie before.
And breaking bad habits. Those are the 7 steps to taking more responsibility.
And we talked about breaking bad habits a lot. There's a lot more work you could be doing, and we all have bad habits, right?
We actually did a podcast episode on good habits, things that you should do.
Doesn't surprise me. We've done everything now.
We've done a lot, yeah. So this week we would like you to reframe your idea of what taking responsibility means. It is not blaming people. It's an opportunity. It's a freedom. It's a choice. Then start doing it, but only when you should. So have a great week, and we will see you next Let's Talk About It Tuesday.
Oh, I got to shut it off, don't I? Ha!
Yes.
Yes.